My husband publicly ended our marriage on live TV while carrying his child, unaware the billionaire CEO who watched was my first love. I know where I am. Actually, this is perfect timing. Quinn, I want a divorce. The words echo through studio speakers, amplified for millions of viewers. My husband's face fills the screen behind me, shirtless, cold, defiant. A woman I introduced to him 8 months ago has her arms wrapped around his torso. I never wanted this baby. You know that. We agreed to wait, and you conveniently got pregnant anyway. You trapped me with this pregnancy, and I'm done pretending this is what I want. 6 months pregnant. Live television. National broadcast. My hand instinctively moves to protect my belly as the studio audience gasps in collective horror. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. But it is. And 1,200 miles away in Seattle, someone is watching. Someone from my past I spent 12 years trying to forget. Someone whose heart I broke. Someone who broke mine first. He's about to change everything. But I don't know that yet. Right now, all I know is that my life is ending on camera, and there's nowhere to hide. Have you ever had your worst nightmare broadcast to millions? Have you ever felt your entire world collapse while strangers watched? Drop everything you're doing right now, because what happened next wasn't just betrayal. It was devastation, transformation, and the kind of second chance that only comes from complete destruction. My name is Quinn Ashford, and this is the story of how my public humiliation became my private salvation. The morning started like a dream. I woke up in my downtown loft at 6 a.m., sunlight streaming through the floor. To ceiling windows I'd specifically designed to catch the eastern light. My hand moved to my belly, feeling the flutter of movement. 6 months pregnant, and my daughter was already keeping me on a schedule. The burgundy wrap dress hung on my closet door, carefully selected by my stylist 3 days ago. Television cameras add 10 pounds, she'd said. This color will make you glow. I showered, applied makeup with precision, practiced my talking points in the mirror. Quinn Ashford, lead architect for the Riverside Children's Hospital, winner of the National Design Excellence Award, first-time mother-to-be. The reflection staring back at me looked successful, confident, happy. I had no idea I was looking at a woman whose life would implode in exactly 4 hours. My phone buzzed with a text from Gavin. Good luck today. You'll be amazing. I smiled, typing back a heart emoji. My husband of 3 years sending encouragement before my big interview. We'd had our rough patches lately. What couple didn't? But we were solid. We were building a family. We were fine. I was so naive. The car service arrived at 8:15. I settled into the back seat, reviewing my notes one more time. Morning Horizons was the biggest daytime talk show in the country. This interview would be seen by over 4 million viewers. My hospital design had already won awards, but this exposure would take my career to the next level. The driver navigated through morning traffic while I rehearsed answers to anticipated questions. Yes, the rainbow window design was inspired by childhood trauma research. No, I never expected this level of recognition. Yes, pregnancy has given me new perspective on creating healing spaces for children. I had it all planned out. Every answer, every smile, every carefully crafted soundbite. Life has a way of destroying plans. The television studio was exactly what I expected. Bustling production assistants, bright lights, the controlled chaos of live television. A young woman with a headset and clipboard guided me to the green room. Miss Ashford, welcome. Can I get you any water? Tea? Just water, please. I settled onto the sofa, suddenly aware of how real this was. You're going to be great. She handed me a bottle of sparkling water. Veronica is wonderful, very warm, very genuine. Just relax and be yourself. Relax. Right. A makeup artist touched up my foundation. The segment producer briefed me on the flow. 6 minutes total. Introduction, discussion of the hospital design, a few personal questions about pregnancy and work-life balance, then closing remarks. Simple, straightforward, safe. 15 minutes later, I was being led onto the set. The studio audience applauded as I walked out, one hand instinctively cradling my belly. The lights were almost painfully bright. Veronica Hayes stood to greet me, all polished professionalism and camera-ready warmth. Quinn Ashford, welcome to Morning Horizons. Thank you for having me. I settled into the interview chair, suddenly hyper-aware of my body, my face, my voice, millions of people watching. Your latest project, the Riverside Children's Hospital, has revolutionized pediatric healthcare architecture. Patient recovery times have improved by 40% since it opened 3 months ago. How does that feel? The question grounded me. This I could talk about. This I knew. It feels like purpose. I leaned forward slightly, finding my rhythm. Every window, every color, every play of light was designed with one question in mind. What would help a frightened child feel safe? Architecture isn't just about buildings. It's about creating environments that heal. Beautifully said. Veronica's smile widened. And speaking of healing and growth, congratulations are in order. You're expecting your first child. Yes. My hand moved to my belly again. A girl. We're due in 3 months. That's wonderful. Veronica leaned forward with an expression I would later recognize as calculated entertainment. You know what? Let's do something special. Let's call your husband right now and share this incredible moment with him. I'm sure Gavin would love to celebrate your success. My stomach tightened. Something felt off, though I couldn't articulate why. Oh, I don't know if he's available. I'm sure he's working. Come on. Veronica was already signaling to her producer. It'll be sweet. A beautiful surprise for our viewers. The audience applauded enthusiastically. I felt trapped by their expectation, by the cameras, by the momentum of live television. This wasn't part of the plan. I didn't prepare for this, but the call was already connecting. The large screen behind me flickered to life. I turned in my chair, expecting to see Gavin's face, expecting his smile, his surprise, his pride in my accomplishment. Instead, I saw her, Janelle, my former graduate school friend, the woman I'd introduced to Gavin at a professional mixer. The woman who'd thanked me for expanding her network. She was barely dressed. Her hair was tousled. Her expression shifted from confusion to absolute horror as she recognized what she was seeing. The studio went silent. That thick, suffocating silence that comes right before a bomb explodes. Oh my God. Janelle's voice carried through the speakers. Oh my God, is this live? Movement behind her. My brain tried to reject what my eyes were seeing. Tried to find some innocent explanation. Then Gavin appeared in the frame. Shirtless. His face cycled through emotions in rapid succession. Shock, panic, and then something worse. Something that made my blood turn to ice. Cold resignation. Like he'd been caught, but he didn't really care. Quinn. Just my name. Flat. Emotionless. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process. My hand gripped the arm of the chair as the studio tilted around me. Gavin, you're on live television. Veronica tried desperately to salvage the situation. Let me just end this call. No. Gavin's voice was sharp, authoritative, the voice he used in business negotiations. Actually, this is perfect timing. He looked directly at the camera, directly at me. His eyes were cold. Stranger's eyes. Quinn, I want a divorce. The audience gasped. Someone screamed. The sound seemed to come from very far away. This isn't, I started, but my voice wouldn't work properly. I never wanted this baby. Gavin continued, each word carefully chosen. Surgically cruel. You know that. We agreed to wait, and you conveniently got pregnant anyway. You trapped me with this pregnancy, and I'm done pretending this is what I want. Janelle appeared behind him, wrapping her arms around his torso. Gavin, baby, just hang up. Please. The baby wasn't a trap. I found my voice, though it sounded foreign to my own ears. We planned this. We wanted this. You planned this. He interrupted. The perfect career, the perfect house, the perfect baby to complete your perfect image. I just went along with it because fighting you was exhausting. But I'm done. I haven't been happy in over a year. Janelle and I have been together for 8 months. 8 months. While I was designing a children's hospital, while I was choosing paint colors for the nursery, while I was picking out tiny onesies and reading pregnancy books and believing we were building a life together. 8 months of lies. The baby, I whispered, my hand protective over my belly. Our daughter. Your daughter. Gavin's correction was brutal. Your decision. I'm not going to let it chain me to a life I never chose. The papers will be filed by the end of the week. He reached forward, and the screen went black. The studio erupted in chaos. The audience was shouting. Veronica was frantically apologizing into the camera. Production assistants rushed toward me, but I sat frozen, completely still. My hand on my belly, protecting the child my husband, my ex-husband, had just publicly rejected on national television. Miss Ashford, someone touched my arm. I'm so sorry. We had no idea. Can we get you anything? I stood. The movement felt robotic, disconnected. I need to leave. Of course. The production assistant's face was full of pity. That horrible, suffocating pity. Let me escort you. The walk from the interview chair to the exit felt endless. The audience watched in stunned silence. Some were crying. Most looked horrified. A few had their phones out, already uploading the footage that would go viral within minutes. I kept my head high, kept my hand on my belly, kept moving forward, because that's what you do when your world ends publicly. You survive it with whatever dignity you can salvage. The emergency exit door closed behind me, cutting off the noise. The hallway was mercifully empty. Cool, quiet. I made it 3 steps before my knees buckled. My back hit the wall as I slid down, my breath coming in sharp, painful gasps. Not crying, not yet. Just breathing, just trying to process what had just happened. My phone was already exploding, vibrating non-stop in my purse. I pulled it out with shaking hands. 17 missed calls, 43 texts, and counting. My mother, my sister, my business partner, friends I hadn't spoken to in months. Everyone who just watched my humiliation broadcast to millions. I turned the phone off, silenced the world. Miss Ashford. The production assistant appeared at the end of the hallway. The press is gathering outside. Would you like to use our private exit? Yes, please. She guided me through a maze of corridors to an underground parking garage. My car service was already there, the driver's face carefully neutral. I slid into the back seat, gave him my address, stared out the window as the city blurred past. 8 months. The thought kept circling. 8 months of betrayal. While I planned our future, he was planning his exit. While I grew our daughter, he was sleeping with my friend. What did I miss? The question burned. What signs did I ignore? The car pulled up to my building. The doorman's expression shifted from professional courtesy to painful sympathy the moment he saw me. Miss Ashford. He opened my door. I'm so sorry. I just saw, that is, if you need anything. Thank you, Marcus. I managed something that might have resembled a smile. The elevator ride to the 15th floor took forever. I caught my reflection in the mirrored walls. Still wearing the burgundy dress. Still technically pregnant and successful and accomplished, but completely shattered. My loft felt different as I stepped inside. The space I'd designed with such care now felt like a museum of delusion. Every choice Gavin and I had made together, the sofa we'd picked out, the artwork we'd hung, the nursery we'd painted last month, all of it contaminated by lies. I walked to my bedroom, slipped out of the burgundy dress, and stood under the shower. Hot water. Hot enough to hurt. Hot enough to feel something other than the numbness spreading through my chest. How long had he wanted out? Had he ever actually wanted this baby? Had he ever actually loved me? I allowed myself exactly 10 minutes under the water. 10 minutes to feel the full weight of my devastation. Then I turned off the shower, dried my face, and made a decision. I would not be destroyed by this. Humiliated, yes. Betrayed, absolutely. But not destroyed. I dressed in comfortable clothes, made myself tea, sat cross-legged on my bed with my laptop. Then I made 3 phone calls. First, to Catherine Morrison, the divorce attorney my sister had recommended 6 months ago when her own marriage ended. Catherine Morrison's office. This is Quinn Ashford. I need to schedule an emergency consultation. My husband just... I paused, gathering strength. My husband just announced on live television that he wants a divorce. I'm 6 months pregnant. Silence on the other end. Then, oh my God, I saw it. The whole office saw it. Quinn, I'm so sorry. Can you come in tomorrow morning? 9 a.m.? I'll be there. Second call to Jeremy Chen, my business partner. Quinn. His voice was tight with anger. I just watched. That bastard. Are you okay? I'm managing. I kept my voice professional. Jeremy, I want you to know this won't affect our ongoing projects. I'll be in the office Monday as planned. Quinn, take whatever time you need. Your personal life just exploded on national television. No one expects you to work right now. I expect me to work. I need normal. I need purpose. Please don't treat me like I'm broken." He was quiet for a moment. "Okay, but if you need anything at all, I'm here." Third call to my obstetrician, Dr. Peterson's office. "This is Quinn Ashford. I need to schedule an emergency appointment. I'm 24 weeks pregnant, and I just experienced severe emotional trauma. I need to make sure the baby is okay. Can you come in this afternoon? 4 p.m.? I'll be there." 3 calls. 3 steps toward taking control of a situation that felt entirely out of control. My daughter moved in my belly, a strong kick against my ribs. I placed my hand over the spot, feeling her life, her presence. "It's just us now," I whispered to her. "But we're going to be okay. I promise you, we're going to be more than okay." My phone, still off, sat on my nightstand. When I finally turned it on 2 hours later, there were 93 missed calls and 217 texts. I ignored all of them except one from my sister. "I'm on my way. Don't argue. I'll be there in 3 hours." I typed back, "Thank you." Then I saw it. An unknown number from Seattle. A voicemail. Something made me listen to it. "Quinn." The voice stopped my heart. "It's Hayes. Hayes Callahan. I saw the interview. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. I have something I need to discuss with you. It's important. Professional, not personal. Please, call me back." Hayes Callahan. The man I'd fallen in love with 12 years ago. The man I'd planned a future with. The man who'd broken up with me 2 weeks before I moved to New York for graduate school because long-distance relationships were doomed, and we should make a clean break while we were still friends. I hadn't spoken to him in over a decade, and now he was calling me on the worst day of my life. The universe, I decided, had a truly twisted sense of humor. I stared at the number for a long time. Debated deleting it. Debated blocking it. Debated pretending I never received it. Instead, I called back. He answered on the first ring. "Quinn." Just my name, but the way he said it. Gentle. Concerned. Achingly familiar despite 12 years of silence. "Hayes." I sat down heavily on my sofa. "Why are you calling me?" "Because I saw what happened to you, and I'm furious on your behalf. Because what your husband did was unconscionable. And because I have a professional opportunity that might interest you." "Professional?" "Right." I laughed, but it came out brittle. "You're offering me a job the day my marriage ended on national television? I'm offering you an escape." His voice was steady. "Quinn, I visited the Riverside Children's Hospital 6 months ago. 3 times, actually. Anonymously because I wanted to observe without the distraction my name sometimes creates. Your work is extraordinary. Not just the architecture, but the philosophy behind it. The way you've created healing spaces that actually help children recover faster." I said nothing. I didn't trust my voice. Callahan Development Group is launching a nationwide healthcare architecture initiative. We're redesigning children's hospitals in 15 cities. I want you to lead it. Director of Healthcare Design Innovation. Full creative control, substantial team, resources beyond anything you currently have access to. Hayes, before you say no, just look at the offer. I'm emailing it to you right now. Take whatever time you need. Talk to your attorney, your business partner, whoever you trust. This is legitimate, Quinn, based entirely on your professional excellence, not on what happened today, not on our history. My laptop pinged. I opened the email with shaking hands. The salary made me gasp. Triple my current income. Equity stake in the division. Benefits that included premium maternal health care, parental leave, and childcare support. This is too generous, I said quietly. It's competitive for an executive of your caliber taking on national leadership. I could hear the slight smile in his voice, the same tone he'd used in college when we'd debate philosophy at 2 a.m. Quinn, I'm not offering this as charity. I'm offering it because 6 months ago I walked through your hospital and watched a 5-year-old girl stop, crying because sunlight was streaming through your stained glass windows in colors that looked like magic. Tears pricked my eyes. You really visited my hospital 3 times. There was something in his voice, something weighted with unspoken meaning. I wanted to see what you'd built, who you'd become. And Quinn, you're extraordinary, not because of what you survived today, but because of what you've created over years of dedicated work. I need time to think. Of course, take all the time you need. He paused. But Quinn, whatever you decide about the job, I'm here if you need anything. Even if it's just someone to talk to who knew you before any of this. After we hung up, I sat in the gathering darkness of my loft, Hayes' offer glowing on my laptop screen. Your mother, I whispered to my daughter, is about to make either the best or worst decision of her life. Possibly both. But for the first time since that interview, I felt something other than devastation. I felt possibility. The next 3 weeks moved in a strange blur. My divorce from Gavin progressed with surprising speed. His attorney contacted mine with terms that were shockingly generous. Full custody to me. Our shared property divided in my favor. A financial settlement that would secure my daughter's future. Your client understands this makes him look guilty, Catherine said during our meeting. My client is guilty. Gavin's attorney was a severe woman named Patricia Ross. Of infidelity, of public cruelty, of spectacular failure as a husband. He wants this resolved quickly and quietly. He's already done enough damage to both his professional reputation and Miss Ashford's well-being. I signed the papers without emotion, watched my marriage dissolve into legal documents with nothing but relief. The public reaction was overwhelming. The interview footage went viral within hours. By the next day, hashtags were trending. Where were you, Gavin? Team Quinn. Second chance at love, though that one was premature and based on speculation about Hayes. Morning talk shows dissected the incident. Relationship experts weighed in. Strangers on social media shared their own stories of abandonment and betrayal. I ignored all of it. Instead, I focused on 3 things. My health, my daughter, and Hayes' offer. Jeremy thought I was insane. You're going to uproot your entire life and move to Seattle? He stared at me across our shared office space. Quinn, you just went through massive trauma. You're 6 months pregnant. Maybe making huge life decisions right now isn't the best idea. Maybe it's exactly the right idea. I pulled up the project specifications Hayes had sent. Look at this. 15 hospitals. Unlimited budget for innovation. The chance to implement healing-centered design on a national scale. This is everything we've talked about for years. We could do it here. In New York. Could we? I met his eyes. Really? With our current clients and our current resources? Or would we spend 5 more years taking whatever projects pay the bills while dreaming about making real impact? He was quiet. I'm not running away, I said gently. I'm running towards something. A chance to do meaningful work. A chance to start over somewhere that doesn't feel contaminated by Gavin's betrayal. And Hayes Callahan? Jeremy's expression was knowing. Your college boyfriend who you haven't spoken to in 12 years? That's not a factor. It's a professional opportunity. Quinn. I sighed. Fine. Yes, there's history. Yes, it's complicated. But Hayes has been nothing but respectful and professional. He's offering me a job, not a relationship. What I do with that is my choice. Just be careful. Jeremy's voice softened. You're vulnerable right now. And he's offering you everything you need right when you need it most. That's either incredibly good timing or incredibly calculated. I know. I placed my hand on my belly, feeling my daughter's movement. But I have to trust my instincts. And my instincts say this is right. 2 weeks later, I accepted Hayes' offer. 1 week after that, I was on a plane to Seattle. My sister came with me, helping me settle into the temporary corporate housing Callahan Development Group had arranged. A beautiful furnished apartment with views of Puget Sound and everything I could possibly need. This is incredible. She stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching ferries cross the water. You sure you're ready for this? No. I unpacked my laptop. But I'm doing it anyway. And seeing Hayes tomorrow? Professional meeting. First day orientation. I kept my voice neutral. She turned to face me, her expression serious. Quinn, I know you. I know how you loved him. Just promise me you'll be careful with your heart. It's already been shattered once this year. I promise. I meant it. Whatever happened with Hayes, if anything happened at all, I would be careful. Intentional. I wouldn't confuse gratitude with love or professional respect with romantic connection. I would protect myself and my daughter above everything else. That night, I barely slept. Anticipation and anxiety warred in my chest. Tomorrow, I would see Hayes for the first time in 12 years. Tomorrow, I would start a new job, a new life, a new chapter. Tomorrow, everything would change. Again. I dressed carefully that morning. Professional maternity dress in deep blue, minimal jewelry, light makeup. I wanted to project competence, not vulnerability. The Callahan Development Group headquarters was a stunning building in downtown Seattle, all glass and steel and modern design. I checked in at reception, and within minutes, an elegant woman in her 40s appeared. Miss Ashford. She extended her hand with a warm smile. I'm Maya Torres, Mr. Callahan's executive assistant. Welcome to CDG. Thank you. Her handshake was firm, professional. Mr. Callahan is finishing a call, but he asked me to give you a brief tour before your meeting. If you'll follow me. She led me through the building, explaining departments and introducing me to team members. Everyone was friendly, professional, genuinely excited about the healthcare initiative. Your office is on the executive floor. Maya opened a door, and I stepped into a corner suite that took my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Puget Sound, a massive desk, a drafting table already set up with professional equipment, a sitting area for client meetings, and a door leading to an adjacent room. That's... Maya hesitated. Mr. Callahan had that prepared for you. He thought you might need it. I opened the door. It was a nursery, fully equipped, professionally designed, soft colors and natural light, and every amenity a working mother could possibly need. A bassinet, a changing table, a comfortable chair for nursing, blackout curtains, a sound machine. He did this for me. He wanted you to know that your daughter is welcome here. Maya's voice was gentle, that this position works for both of you, or it doesn't work at all. I pressed my hand to my chest, overwhelmed. No employer has ever. Mr. Callahan takes care of his people. Maya smiled. Especially those leading critical initiatives. You're not just an employee, Miss Ashford. You're a partner in building something meaningful. Before I could respond, Maya's phone buzzed. He's ready for you. My heart hammered as we walked down the hall to Hayes' office. Maya knocked once, then opened the door. Miss Ashford is here. Thank you, Maya. And then I saw him. 12 years had changed him, filled him out, matured him. He'd been handsome in college, but now he was striking, confident in a way that came from building something meaningful. His dark hair was shorter, his jawline sharper, his eyes the same warm brown I remembered, but deeper somehow, more knowing. He stood as I entered, and for a moment, we just looked at each other. Quinn. He extended his hand, maintaining professional distance despite the emotion flickering across his features. Welcome to Callahan Development Group. I took his hand, felt the familiar warmth, the strength, the connection that 12 years hadn't diminished. Hayes, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for taking a chance on us. His smile was gentle. Let me show you what we're building. He gestured to a large table covered in blueprints and architectural renderings. For the next hour, he walked me through the healthcare initiative. 15 cities, 15 children's hospitals in desperate need of redesign. Unlimited budget, complete creative control. It was everything I'd ever dreamed of professionally, but I couldn't quite focus, because Hayes was right there, close enough to touch, speaking with passion about healing spaces and community impact, and changing children's lives through thoughtful design. This was the man I'd loved at 21, the man I'd planned a future with, the man who'd broken my heart because he'd been too young and too scared to fight for us. And now he was offering me the world. Your vision for Riverside is exactly what we need. Hayes pulled up photos of my hospital on his laptop. The way you integrated natural light with color therapy, the healing gardens, the parent rest areas. This isn't just architecture. It's compassion made physical. That was always the goal. I found my voice. Buildings that acknowledge fear and pain, but offer hope and beauty in equal measure. Exactly. Hayes' eyes met mine, and something passed between us. Recognition, understanding. The same intellectual and creative connection we'd shared in college. That's what makes you perfect for this role. Hayes, I need to ask. I set down the blueprint I'd been studying. Why now? Why me? There are hundreds of talented architects you could have hired. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was honest in a way that made my chest tight. Because 6 months ago, I walked through your hospital and realized you'd become exactly who you were always meant to be. Someone who turns suffering into beauty. Someone who sees vulnerability and responds with grace. He paused. And because when I saw what happened to you on that interview, I was furious. Furious that you were treated that way. furious that I wasn't there to support you. You weren't supposed to be there. We haven't spoken in 12 years. I know. But Quinn, his expression was vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. I've thought about you every day for 12 years, wondered how you were, what you'd built, if you were happy. And when I saw you on that screen, brilliant and successful and pregnant, and being publicly destroyed, I knew I had to do something. So, you offered me a job. I offered you an opportunity you deserve based on merit. He corrected gently. What happened on that interview is unconscionable, but it doesn't change the fact that you're one of the most innovative healthcare architects in the country. I would have made this offer eventually. The timing is, he hesitated, complicated. But the offer itself is genuine. What about us? The question escaped before I could stop it. Our history is ours to navigate however feels right to you. Hayes leaned against his desk, maintaining physical distance. Quinn, I'm not offering you this job with any expectation beyond professional excellence. Whatever happened between us, whatever might happen, that's entirely separate. Your comfort and your needs come first. The relief I felt was profound. Thank you. I met his eyes. For respecting boundaries. For not making this complicated. You've been through hell. His voice was rough with emotion. The last thing you need is pressure or confusion from me. I'm here to work with you, to support you professionally. Everything else is your choice, your pace, your terms. What if I don't want everything else? I asked quietly. What if I just want this to be professional? Then it will be, he said simply. I'll respect whatever boundaries you set. We worked together for the rest of the day, discussing timelines and budgets and design philosophies. It was comfortable. Familiar, like slipping back into a friendship that distance had paused, but not destroyed. At 5 p.m., Maya knocked on the door. Your car service is here, Miss Ashford, and you have a doctor's appointment at 6. I'll walk you down. Hayes stood, gathering his things. In the elevator, we were quiet. Just the two of us in a small space, years of unspoken history hovering between us. How are you really? Hayes asked as we descended. Not professionally, personally. I stopped, considered lying, decided on honesty. I'm devastated and relieved and terrified and hopeful all at once. My marriage ended. My life got rebuilt. I'm about to become a single mother. I'm starting a new job in a new city. It's overwhelming. You're handling it with remarkable grace. I'm surviving it with whatever dignity I can salvage. I corrected. There's a difference. The elevator doors opened. Hayes walked me to the waiting car, his hand briefly touching my elbow in a gesture that felt protective without being possessive. Quinn, he waited until I met his eyes. You're going to be an extraordinary mother, and you're going to create extraordinary things here. I believe that completely. Thank you. The words felt inadequate for everything he was offering. For the job, for the respect, for the space to heal. See you tomorrow. He stepped back as I got into the car. See you tomorrow. As the car pulled away, I watched him in the side mirror, standing on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, watching me leave, and I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks, hope. The next 6 weeks established a rhythm. I threw myself into work with single-minded focus. The healthcare initiative became my purpose, my distraction, my proof that I could build something meaningful from the ruins of my personal life. Hayes was everything I didn't know I needed. Professional, respectful, consistently supportive without being overbearing. He noticed everything, but never made a show of it. Meetings scheduled around my doctor appointments without me asking. Project timelines that accommodated my energy levels as pregnancy advanced. A car service that appeared whenever I needed it. Your office is too cold, he said one morning, appearing with a space heater. Maya mentioned you've been wearing your coat. I didn't realize she noticed. I notice. He plugged in the heater, adjusted the temperature. You're 7 months pregnant and working 12-hour days. The least I can do is make sure you're comfortable. Hayes, you don't have to take care of me. He looked up, his expression serious. I'm not taking care of you. You're perfectly capable of taking care of yourself. I'm just removing obstacles when I can. Is that okay? The question, the deference to my autonomy made my chest tight. Yes, I whispered. It's okay. Our working relationship deepened into something that felt like friendship. We had lunch meetings that ran long because we got caught up in passionate debates about design philosophy. We texted each other articles and ideas at midnight. We built something professional that felt personal in all the right ways, but he never crossed a line, never presumed intimacy, never made me feel like his support came with expectations, until my water broke at 38 weeks and 3 days, and everything changed. It was a Tuesday evening. I was at home, reviewing the Portland hospital designs at my dining table. My due date was still 9 days away. I had time. I had plans. And then, I felt it, the unmistakable gush of fluid, the sudden realization that plans meant nothing. Oh, I stood carefully, phone already in hand. Okay. I called my doctor, called my sister who was back in New York, called the car service, and then, after a moment's hesitation, I texted Hayes. In labor, heading to Northwest Medical. Don't worry, I'm fine. His response was instantaneous. I'm on my way. You don't have to. I know. I'm coming anyway. If that's okay. I stared at the message as another contraction built. Thought about facing this alone. Thought about my daughter entering the world with only medical staff as witnesses. Thought about Hayes, steady and respectful and present in ways Gavin had never been. Birthing Suite 7, I typed. But Hayes, I might need you to stay. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Finally, I would be honored. The hospital admitted me at 8:45 p.m. My obstetrician confirmed I was in active labor. 4 centimeters dilated. Contractions every 6 minutes. It's going to be a while. Dr. Sarah Chen smiled reassuringly. But everything looks good. You're doing great. My sister was on the next flight out, but wouldn't arrive until tomorrow morning. The nurses were kind and efficient. But I was alone. Until Hayes appeared in the doorway of my birthing suite at 9:30, slightly out of breath, his expression cycling through concern and relief. Quinn, you came. I don't know why I was surprised. He moved to my bedside, his eyes searching my face. How are you? Terrified. Excited. Really glad you're here. Another contraction hit. I gripped the bed rail, breathing through the intensity. Hayes watched helplessly, his hands flexing at his sides like he wanted to help but didn't know how. When it passed, I looked up at him. You can hold my hand. If you want. Are you sure? I'm sure. The next 12 hours unfolded in a blur of pain and determination and unexpected intimacy. Hayes stayed. Not just stayed, but participated. Held my hand through contractions. Offered ice chips. Advocated with medical staff. When I was too exhausted to speak for myself. You researched this. I observed during a brief respite. Labor support techniques. He had the grace to look sheepish. On the drive over, there's remarkable consensus on what helps. Despite everything, I laughed. Of course you did. As labor intensified, I retreated into myself. The world narrowed to breath and push and rest. Hayes remained a constant presence. His hand in mine. His voice quiet and steady. You're doing beautifully. So strong. Almost there. At 3:47 a.m., after one final, overwhelming push, my daughter entered the world. Her cry was vigorous, indignant, absolutely perfect. It's a girl. Dr. Chen confirmed unnecessarily, placing the squirming, vernix-covered newborn on my chest. A beautiful, healthy girl. Time stopped. I looked down at my daughter's face for the first time. Tiny, perfect, scrunched in protest at her rude eviction from comfortable darkness. Hi, baby girl. I sobbed, overwhelmed with fierce protective love. Hi, I'm your mama. I've got you. I've always got you. Hayes stepped back, giving us this sacred moment. When I looked up, his face was wet with unashamed tears. Do you want to meet her? I heard myself ask. Are you sure? I'm sure. He approached with reverent caution. I carefully transferred the swaddled newborn into his arms, and something in his expression transformed. Vulnerability and wonder breaking through his careful control. Hello, little one. His voice was rough with emotion. You're so loved, so wanted, so absolutely perfect. My daughter, Violet, squinted up at him. Her tiny hand somehow found his finger and grasped it with surprising strength. Hayes's breath caught. His eyes met mine over Violet's head, and something profound passed between us. Not romance. Not yet. but recognition, connection, the acknowledgement that this moment mattered in ways neither of us fully understood. "What will you call her?" he asked softly. I'd considered many names, but looking at her now, born of chaos yet entering the world with such determined strength, only one felt right. Violet. Violet Hayes Ashford. His eyes widened. "Quinn, you don't have to. I want to," I said simply. "You were here. For all of it. That matters." Later, after Violet had been weighed and measured and returned to my arms for feeding, Hayes sat in the uncomfortable hospital recliner, watching us with an expression I couldn't quite read. "You should go home," I said softly. "Get some sleep. I'm not leaving." He settled deeper into the chair. "Not until your sister gets here. Not until I know you both have support." "Hayes. Quinn." He met my eyes. "Let me do this. Please." So he stayed, dozed fitfully in that terrible chair, woke every time I shifted or Violet fussed, made himself useful in small ways that mattered enormously. And I watched him, this man who had broken my heart 12 years ago, this man who had offered me salvation when I needed it most, this man who was here, now, holding my hand through the scariest and most beautiful moment of my life. Something was shifting between us, slowly, carefully, but undeniably. I wasn't ready to name it yet, but I felt it, and for the first time since that devastating interview, I felt something that wasn't just survival. I felt the beginning of something new. My sister arrived the next morning with coffee and bagels and the kind of fierce protectiveness only siblings possess. "Let me see her." She barely greeted me before reaching for Violet, who was sleeping peacefully in the hospital bassinet. "Meet your aunt." I watched as she cradled my daughter with practiced ease. "Violet Elena Ashford. She's perfect." My sister's eyes filled with tears. "Quinn, she's absolutely perfect." Hayes had left an hour earlier, only after my sister texted that she'd landed. He'd looked exhausted, but content, his eyes lingering on Violet one last time before he quietly slipped out. "So," my sister settled into the chair he'd vacated, "Hayes Callahan stayed with you through labor." "He did. Your ex-boyfriend from college. The one who broke your heart. That Hayes Callahan. The same. And how do we feel about that?" I pulled my knees up carefully, still sore from delivery. "I don't know. Grateful. Confused. Terrified. Of what? Of confusing gratitude with something else. Of being vulnerable at the worst possible time. Of letting someone in who already hurt me once." My sister was quiet for a moment, studying Violet's sleeping face. Did it feel like he was trying to earn something? Or did it feel like he just wanted to be there? "The second one," I answered honestly. "He never presumed anything. Never acted like I owed him. He just showed up." "Then maybe trust that." She looked up at me. "Quinn, you've been through hell. You're allowed to accept support. You're allowed to let good things happen." The first weeks with Violet unfolded in a haze of feeding schedules and diaper changes and overwhelming love. My sister stayed for 10 days, helping me establish routines and adjust to motherhood. Hayes sent flowers, meals from the best restaurants in Seattle, a basket of postpartum care items that made my sister raise her eyebrows knowingly. But he didn't visit, didn't call except for one brief check-in, where he asked if I needed anything, and respected my answer when I said I was managing. "He's giving you space," my sister observed. "That's either very respectful or very strategic. Can't it be both?" She laughed. "With Hayes Callahan? Probably." When I returned to work 6 weeks later, part-time and with Violet in tow, the office felt both familiar and foreign. My team had flourished in my absence. The Portland hospital design was moving forward beautifully, and Hayes was exactly as he'd been before. Professional, respectful, genuinely delighted to see Violet but never presuming access. "She's grown," he observed during our first project meeting, his eyes on Violet sleeping in the beautiful bassinet beside my desk. "Almost 2 pounds." I smiled, watching him watch her. "She's already got such a personality. Determined, curious, like her mother." The compliment settled warmly in my chest. Over the next weeks, Hayes became a steady presence again. Not intrusive, not demanding. Just there, bringing coffee exactly how I liked it. Holding Violet so I could use the bathroom during long meetings. Sitting on my office floor playing with her when I was overwhelmed with deadlines. "You're good with her," I observed one afternoon, watching him make ridiculous faces that had Violet giggling. She's easy to be good with. He tickled her tiny feet. She's extraordinary. Hayes. He looked up, and something in my expression made him go still. We should talk, I said quietly, about what's happening here. Okay, not now. I glanced at Violet, at my team working beyond my office door. But soon, after she goes to sleep tonight. If you want to come over, I want to. He said simply, What time? 8. I'll be there. That night, after Violet was fed and changed and sleeping peacefully, in her crib, I paced my living room, waiting for Hayes to arrive. What was I doing? Inviting him into my home, into this fragile new life I'd built, into spaces that were supposed to be safe. But when he knocked at exactly 8 p.m., and I opened the door to find him, standing there with uncertainty and hope warring in his expression, I knew this conversation was inevitable, had been since the moment he called me after the interview, since he offered me this job, since he held my hand through labor and cried when Violet was born. We'd been circling each other for months, building trust, rebuilding connection. It was time to name what was happening between us. Come in. I stepped aside, and Hayes entered my home for the first time. He looked around, taking in the space I'd created. The art on the walls, the books on the shelves, the baby gear that had overtaken what used to be a minimalist aesthetic. It's perfect, he said softly. It's so completely you. Have a seat. I gestured to the couch. Can I get you any coffee? Water? I'm fine. He sat, and I settled beside him. Close, but not touching. For a moment, we just existed in the quiet. Then Hayes spoke. Quinn, before you say whatever you're about to say, I need to tell you something. Okay, I've been in love with you since we were 21 years old. His voice was steady despite the vulnerability in his eyes. Breaking up with you was the biggest mistake of my life. I was young and stupid, and convinced that practical choices mattered more than love. I've regretted it every single day for 12 years. My breath caught. When I saw you on that interview, he continued, being destroyed on national television, I wanted to fix it. To protect you, to do what I should have done 12 years ago and fight for you. But I knew I couldn't just show up and expect you to trust me. So I offered you something professional. Something you deserved on merit. And I told myself that would be enough. Was it? I asked quietly. No. He laughed, but it was pained. Quinn, watching you become a mother, seeing your strength and grace and brilliance, being trusted to hold your daughter, it's been the greatest privilege and the greatest torture. Because I'm in love with you. Completely. But I have no right to expect you to feel the same. The words I'd been holding back for weeks finally found voice. I don't know when it happened. I met his eyes. But somewhere between hospital designs and midnight texts and watching you cry when Violet was born, I fell in love with you too. The silence that followed my confession was heavy with 12 years of history and months of careful circling and the terrifying vulnerability of admitting feelings we'd both been protecting. Hayes stared at me like he wasn't sure he'd heard correctly. You. He started, stopped, tried again. You love me. I do. The admission felt both terrifying and liberating. Not the desperate, all-consuming way I loved you in college. This is different. Steadier. Built on who we actually are now, not who we wanted each other to be then. Quinn. My name was almost a prayer. Are you sure? You've been through massive trauma. I've been there for you during an incredibly vulnerable time. I don't want you to confuse gratitude or support with something else. I've thought about that. I pulled my knees up, settling more comfortably into the couch. Questioned my own feelings constantly. Wondered if I was just latching on to the first person who showed me kindness after Gavin's betrayal. And this isn't that. I held his gaze. Hayes, you've never once made me feel like I owe you anything. You've respected every boundary. You've supported me professionally without expectation. You've been present without being possessive. That's not someone trying to take advantage of vulnerability. That's someone showing me what real partnership looks like. He reached for my hand slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His fingers laced through mine, warm and steady and achingly familiar despite the years between touches. I need you to know something. His voice was serious. I'm not the same person I was at 23. I've spent 12 years in therapy, working on the emotional unavailability I learned from my parents, learning to communicate, to be vulnerable, to fight for what matters instead of running when things get complicated. What changed? Losing you, he said simply, realizing that practical choices without love are just loneliness with better excuses. I built a successful company, made more money than I'll ever need, achieved every professional goal I set, and none of it meant anything because I didn't have someone to share it with. You could have called, I pointed out gently. At any point in 12 years, I know. His thumb traced circles on my palm. But I thought you'd moved on, built a life, found happiness. I had no right to disrupt that just because I'd finally figured out what I'd lost. Until you saw the interview. Until I saw the interview. He confirmed, and realized the universe was giving me a second chance I absolutely didn't deserve. So I decided to show up differently this time. To be the partner I should have been then. Partner. I tested the word. Is that what you want us to be? I want whatever you're comfortable with. Hayes shifted closer. If you want to take this slowly, we go slowly. If you need time to figure out your feelings without pressure, I'll wait. If you decide this is too complicated with Violet and work and everything you're processing, I'll respect that and remain your colleague and friend. And if I want to really try to build something together, then I promise you this. His eyes held mine with absolute certainty. I will show up every single day. I will communicate honestly. I will respect your boundaries and your needs. I will be a partner to you and a stable presence for Violet. And I will never, ever take you for granted again. The kiss, when it finally happened, was gentle, questioning, a beginning rather than a culmination. His hand cupped my face with tender reverence. My fingers curled into his shirt, anchoring myself to this moment. This choice. This terrifying, beautiful possibility. We separated slowly, both slightly dazed. Wow. I breathed. Yeah. Hayes rested his forehead against mine. Wow. From the nursery, Violet's cry pierced the moment. We both laughed. Duty calls. I stood, but Hayes caught my hand. Can I help? You want to help with a diaper change at 9 p.m.? I want to be part of this. He stood, still holding my hand. All of it. The romantic moments and the mundane ones, if you'll let me. So we walked to Violet's nursery together. I changed her diaper while Hayes warmed a bottle. We settled into the rocking chair, me holding Violet while she ate, Hayes sitting on the floor beside us. This is what I want, I said softly, watching Violet's eyes grow heavy. Not grand gestures or dramatic declarations, just this, partnership, showing up, building a life together one ordinary moment at a time. Then that's what we'll build, Hayes promised, and we did. The next months unfolded with intentional slowness. We didn't rush into anything, didn't let the intensity of our history or the convenience of working together push us faster than was healthy. Instead, we dated, properly, thoughtfully, private dinners after Violet's bedtime, where we talked for hours about everything. Our college years, the paths we'd taken, the people we'd become, healing old wounds through honest conversation, weekend outings to Pike Place Market with Violet strapped to Hayes' chest in a carrier, her wide eyes taking in the colors and sounds while we picked out fresh flowers and artisan cheese, early morning coffee dates before work, stealing quiet moments before the day's demands took over. We learned each other again, not as the idealistic 21-year-olds we'd been, but as the adults we'd become. Hayes told me about his childhood, the emotionally distant parents who provided materially while remaining unavailable emotionally, the younger brother who'd battled leukemia, which had inspired his passion for healthcare development, the years of therapy to unlearn harmful patterns. I shared my own journey, the perfectionist tendencies that came from seeking approval I never quite earned, the marriage to Gavin that had been more about proving my worth than actual love, the fear that I'd somehow fail Violet the way I felt failed by my own parents. You could never fail her, Hayes said one evening, watching me nurse Violet before bed. Quinn, you see her, truly see her. That's the foundation of good parenting. I'm terrified every day, I admitted, that I'm not enough, that she'll grow up feeling how I felt. Then we'll make sure she doesn't. Hayes moved to sit beside us on the couch, his arms settling around my shoulders. We'll build something different, based on presence and communication and unconditional love. The we in that sentence felt like a promise. At work, we maintained professional boundaries. Our relationship wasn't a secret, but it also wasn't performed. We treated each other with respect and equality. My ideas were valued on merit, not favoritism. Our disagreements were handled professionally. Maya was the only one who seemed to know the full story. "He's different with you," she commented one day, delivering project reports to my office. "I've worked for Mr. Callahan for 8 years. I've never seen him this present, this genuinely happy." "We're taking it slowly," I replied, not quite meeting her eyes. "Slow is good." Maya smiled knowingly. "But Quinn, don't let fear keep you from something real. I've watched a lot of people orbit Hayes Callahan trying to get his attention. You're the only one who actually has his heart." When Violet was 3 months old, she did something that shifted our careful dynamic. We were at my apartment on a Sunday morning. Hayes had started keeping clothes there for overnight stays, though we still maintained separate bedrooms. He respected my need to move physically slowly, while our emotional intimacy deepened. I was making breakfast while Hayes sat on the living room floor with Violet, who was practicing her tummy time with characteristic determination. "That's it," Hayes encouraged her gently. "You're so strong, Violet. Almost got it." She lifted her head, wobbling with effort, her eyes seeking him out. And then, clear as day, she babbled, "Dada." We both froze. "She's just making sounds," I said quickly from the kitchen. "All babies that age make those sounds." Violet patted Hayes's hand, her expression determined. "Dada." Hayes looked up at me, his eyes wide with a complex mix of emotions. Joy, fear, uncertainty. "Quinn, I would never presume." "I know." I moved to sit beside them, my own feelings complicated. "Hayes, she sees you every day. You feed her, play with her, comfort her when she cries. Of course she's forming an attachment, but I'm not her father," he said carefully. "Biologically, legally, I don't want to overstep." "What is a father?" I asked softly. "Someone who donates DNA? Or someone who shows up every single day, who loves her without obligation, who wants to be part of her life?" "Quinn, Violet calls you Dada because to her, that's what you are." I blinked back tears. "And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's even beautiful." "Are you sure?" His voice was rough. "Because once she calls me that, once I accept that role, I'm all in. Forever. I won't be someone who disappoints her." "I know." I reached for his hand. "That's why it's okay." From that day forward, Violet called Hayes Dada, and he embraced the role with complete commitment. He rearranged board meetings to make it to her pediatrician appointments. He researched developmental milestones obsessively. He changed diapers and warmed bottles and sang off-key lullabies at 2 a.m. when she was teething. He became her father in every way that mattered, and I fell deeper in love with him watching it happen. 6 months into our relationship, Hayes brought up a conversation I'd been avoiding. "We need to talk about Gavin," he said one evening after Violet was asleep. My stomach tightened. "What about him?" "He has biological rights, Quinn. Even though he publicly rejected her, even though he's been completely absent, legally he's still her father. We should consult a family attorney about protecting Violet's stability." "You think he'll suddenly want custody?" "I think he's unpredictable." Hayes pulled out his laptop, ever the strategist. "And I think we should be prepared for any possibility, including me formally adopting Violet if you'd be comfortable with that." The offer made my chest tight with emotion. "You'd do that?" "Quinn, I'm already her father in every way except legal documentation." His eyes were serious. "Adoption would just formalize what already exists, but only if you want it. Only if it feels right for all three of us." "I want it." The certainty surprised me with its intensity. "I want you legally recognized as her father. I want protection for your relationship with her. I want us to be a family in every possible way." Hayes pulled me close, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Then we'll make it happen." We consulted with Catherine Morrison, the divorce attorney who'd handled my split from Gavin. She connected us with Patricia Chen, a family law specialist. Adoption is definitely possible. Patricia reviewed our situation with professional efficiency, especially given Gavin's complete absence and public rejection. But we'd need to notify him of the intent to adopt, give him a chance to contest. "And if he does," I asked, "then we build a case for why adoption serves Violet's best interests. His abandonment, Hayes' established presence, Violet's attachment and stability. But Quinn," she met my eyes seriously, "courts generally favor biological parents unless there is significant evidence of unfitness or harm. We have the interview footage," Hayes pointed out. His public statement that he never wanted the baby. That's pretty damning. It helps. Patricia agreed. But we should be prepared for a fight if he decides to contest. We filed the adoption paperwork 4 weeks later. Gavin had 30 days to respond. 29 days passed in tense silence. On day 30, his attorney filed a counter-petition. Gavin was suing for custody. The news hit like a physical blow. I was at the office when Patricia called. He's claiming he was in a dark place during the interview, that he's found clarity about fatherhood, that he wants to be involved in Violet's life. My hands shook as I gripped the phone. He's never even met her. He doesn't know her name without looking it up. He's never paid $1 of support. I know, and we'll present all of that. But Quinn, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get ugly. The media will be all over it. She was right. The story broke within hours. Entertainment news sites ran with it. Social media exploded. The same outlets that had broadcast my humiliation now covered every development in the custody battle. My phone rang constantly. Reporters wanting statements, friends offering sympathy, strangers sharing opinions on platforms I didn't even use. Hayes found me in my office 2 hours after the news broke, staring blankly at my computer screen. He didn't say anything, just closed the door, crossed the room, and pulled me into his arms. I can't do this again, I whispered against his chest. I can't have my life dissected publicly again. You won't be alone this time. His voice was steady. Quinn, we're going to fight this with everything we have. The best attorneys, every resource, complete documentation of his absence and my presence. What if it's not enough? Then we'll adapt. He pulled back to meet my eyes. But I promise you, on everything I am, I will not let him harm either of you. We will protect Violet's well-being above everything else. That night, after Violet was asleep, Hayes and I sat at my dining table making battle plans. We need to document everything. He had his laptop open, already creating spreadsheets. Every doctor's appointment I've attended, every financial contribution, every moment of care. Social media posts. I added, photos of you with her. Time-stamped proof of consistent presence. Witnesses. Hayes typed rapidly. Maya, your pediatrician, your sister, anyone who can testify to the established bond. We worked until midnight, building our case brick by brick. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks away. In the interim, Patricia advised complete media silence. Don't engage. Don't comment. Don't give them anything to twist. Let your attorneys handle all communication. But the public wasn't silent. Within days, hashtags were trending again. Where were you, Gavin? Protect Violet. Biology doesn't equal parenthood. Parenting forums erupted with passionate debates. Child psychologists appeared on morning shows discussing attachment theory and the harm of disrupting established bonds. Celebrity advocates weighed in. A famous actor who'd been adopted shared his story. A popular musician posted about the non-biological father who'd raised him. The court of public opinion was overwhelmingly on our side. But Patricia warned against complacency. Public opinion doesn't decide custody cases. Judges do. And judges have to follow law, not sentiment. Gavin's legal team attempted damage control. They released a statement claiming he'd matured, found purpose, recognized the importance of fatherhood. The explanation fell flat against the mountain of evidence documenting his cruelty. Still, he persisted. 3 weeks before the hearing, he showed up at one of my gallery events. I was at the Portland Hospital unveiling, celebrating the completion of our first major project. The children's wing had exceeded every expectation. Patient feedback was extraordinary. The mayor had given a speech crediting our innovative design. It was supposed to be a triumph. Then, I saw him across the room. Gavin looked different, thinner, harder around the edges. His eyes scanned the crowd until they found me. My blood turned to ice. Quinn, he approached before I could escape. We need to talk. We have nothing to discuss. I kept my voice low, aware of the event happening around us. All communication goes through our attorneys. I want to see my daughter. His voice carried, drawing attention. Security. Hayes appeared at my side, his hand steady at the small of my back. His voice was controlled but carried authority. This man is harassing Miss Ashford. I'm her husband. Gavin's expression twisted with ugly contempt. Ex-husband, Hayes corrected. who publicly rejected their unborn child and has made zero attempt at contact for 10 months. You need to leave. Gavin stepped closer, his voice dropping to something poisonous. Playing daddy to my kid doesn't make her yours, Callahan. No. Hayes remained calm, though I felt the tension in his body. But being there for every doctor's appointment, every midnight feeding, every milestone does. Being chosen by Violet every single day makes me her father. You're just biology. I'm filing for custody. Gavin's gaze shifted to me. And I'm going to win. Then you'll see how powerless you really are. Security escorted him out before I could respond. But the damage was done. Photos of the confrontation were online within minutes. Speculation exploded. Patricia called the next morning. The confrontation helps us, she said without preamble. It demonstrates his volatility, his focus on you and Hayes rather than Violet's well-being. But Quinn, you need to be prepared. He's desperate, and desperate people do unpredictable things. The hearing arrived with surreal speed. Hayes and I dressed carefully that morning. Professional, united, strong. Violet stayed with my sister, blissfully unaware that her entire future was being decided. The courthouse was surrounded by media. Cameras flashed as our car pulled up. Reporters shouted questions we didn't answer. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Observers, media representatives, child advocates drawn by the case's implications. Judge Maria Torres presided, a 60-year-old veteran of family court known for child-centered rulings and zero tolerance for games. This court's primary concern is the well-being of the minor child, Violet Elena Ashford. Her opening remarks set the tone. All other considerations are secondary to what serves her best interests. Gavin's attorney presented first. A slick man named Robert Kane, who specialized in high-conflict custody cases. Mr. Ashford deeply regrets his statement during the television interview. Kane's voice was smooth. He was in a dark place, struggling with the sudden pressure of impending fatherhood, but he's since done significant personal work, therapy, reflection. He's financially stable and genuinely wants to be part of his daughter's life. Patricia cross-examined with surgical precision. Mr. Ashford, how old is Violet? Gavin hesitated. 10 months. What's her favorite toy? I don't know. Her pediatrician's name? Silence. When was her last checkup? More silence. Have you made any attempt to contact Miss Ashford regarding Violet's well-being in the 10 months since her birth? I was giving Quinn space. Space. Patricia's tone was sharp. Or complete absence. Have you paid any child support? We didn't have a formal agreement. Have you sent gifts? Cards? Any acknowledgement of your daughter's existence? Gavin's jaw tightened. I was preparing to be present in a meaningful way. By filing for custody only after learning Mr. Callahan intended to adopt, Patricia let the implication hang. Our side presented next. The case we'd built over weeks. Medical records showing Hayes at every appointment. Financial records of his support. Photos documenting 10 months of consistent presence. The pediatrician testified. Mr. Callahan has attended every well baby visit. He asks informed questions. He clearly knows Violet's needs and temperament. I've never met Mr. Ashford. Maya testified. Mr. Callahan rearranged a meeting with international investors because it conflicted with Violet's first swimming class. He keeps photos of her on his desk. He talks about her constantly. This isn't performance. It's genuine paternal love. My sister testified. Hayes was in the delivery room. He's been present for every major and minor milestone. Violet lights up when she sees him. She calls him Dada because that's who he is to her. Finally, I took the stand. Miss Ashford. Judge Torres's voice was kind but firm. If the court were to grant shared custody to Mr. Ashford, how would that impact Violet's life? I chose my words carefully. Your Honor, Violet is 10 months old. Her sense of security comes from consistent caregivers and predictable routines. Hayes, Mr. Callahan, is one of those consistent caregivers. He's been present since birth. Introducing a stranger because that's what Gavin is to her would be devastating to her development. Mr. Ashford isn't technically a stranger. The judge noted. He's her biological father. With respect, Your Honor, biology without relationship is just genetics. I met her eyes. Violet knows one father. The man who's read her bedtime stories every night. Who walks her when she's fussy. who has literally never missed a single day of her life. Removing him from that role would traumatize her, and Mr. Callahan's adoption petition would formalize what already exists in Violet's heart and in our daily life. I felt tears building but kept my voice steady. Hayes is her father in every way that matters. Legal recognition would simply protect that bond. Thank you, Miss Ashford. The judge called a brief recess. Hayes and I sat in the hallway, hands clasped, not speaking. There was nothing left to say. We'd presented our case. Now we waited. 30 minutes later, we were called back. Judge Torres reviewed her notes in silence. The courtroom held its collective breath. Finally, she looked up. I've reviewed extensive evidence, testimony from numerous witnesses, and relevant case law regarding best interests of the child. She paused. Mr. Ashford, you are Violet's biological father. That is genetic fact. But fatherhood, real fatherhood, is more than genetics. Gavin sat rigidly beside his attorney. You publicly rejected this child before her birth. You have made zero effort to establish a relationship, provide support, or participate in her life for 10 months. You filed for custody only after learning of Mr. Callahan's adoption petition. The timing suggests opportunism rather than genuine parental concern. She turned to us. Mr. Callahan, you have been present for every meaningful moment of this child's life. You have provided financial, emotional, and physical support without biological obligation or legal requirement. The evidence of your bond with Violet is overwhelming. Hope fluttered in my chest. Miss Ashford, you have built a stable, loving home for your daughter. Your choice of partner and co-parent has clearly been made with Violet's best interests as priority. The judge set down her papers. Mr. Ashford, your petition for custody is denied. Furthermore, given your complete abandonment and Violet's established attachment to Mr. Callahan, I am terminating your parental rights. Gavin stood abruptly. You can't. I can. And I have. Judge Torres's voice was final. This child knows one father. That relationship merits full legal protection. Mr. Callahan, your adoption petition is granted. Violet Elena Ashford will become Violet Elena Callahan, effective immediately. The courtroom erupted. I collapsed against Hayes, tears streaming down my face. His arms circled me, his own eyes wet with emotion. She's ours. I sobbed. Legally, completely ours. She always was. Hayes whispered into my hair. We just made it official. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Hayes made a brief statement. We're grateful for the court's decision and for the recognition that family is built through love and presence, not just biology. Now we're going to take our daughter home and celebrate being officially recognized as the family we've always been. The car ride home was quiet, emotional. Hayes held my hand the entire way. My sister met us at the door with Violet, who squealed and reached for Hayes the moment she saw him. Dada. He took her, holding her close, his expression transforming with unguarded love and relief. That's right, little one. His voice was thick. Dada's here. Always. That night, after Violet was asleep, Hayes found me standing in the doorway of her nursery. What are you thinking? He wrapped his arms around me from behind. That 6 months ago, my life ended on national television. And somehow, impossibly, it led to this. To you. To us. To our family. Do you regret any of it? The pain, the humiliation, the struggle? Not for a second. I leaned back against him, because it brought me here. To a love that's real. To a partnership that's equal. To a family built on choice instead of obligation. Hayes turned me to face him. I have something I want to ask you. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Dropped to one knee right there in the hallway outside our daughter's nursery. Quinn Ashford, you are the strongest, most brilliant, most extraordinary person I've ever known. You've taught me what real courage looks like, what real love requires. He opened the box, revealing a stunning emerald ring. The same deep green as the dress you wore during that interview. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend forever showing up for you and Violet, and whatever future we build together? The symbolism of the emerald made me cry, reclaiming that color, transforming it from a symbol of my worst day into something beautiful. Yes, I laughed through tears. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger and stood, pulling me into a kiss that tasted like tears and hope and new beginnings. From the nursery, Violet made sleepy sounds through the monitor. We both laughed, breaking apart. Shall we tell her? Hayes asked. She She already knows. I took his hand. She's known since the moment she called you Dada. We married 3 months later in a small ceremony at the original children's hospital, where our professional partnership had begun. 40 guests, spring flowers, art installations creating a backdrop that represented our shared vision. Violet, 14 months old now, took her role as flower girl with characteristic determination. She placed petals carefully down the aisle until halfway through, when she abandoned her basket to run to Hayes. He lifted her without breaking stride, and she stayed perched on his hip for the entire ceremony. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Violet shouted no with such conviction that laughter rippled through our guests. Hayes's vows were simple and profound. I promised to show up every single day, for every moment, for both of you, for whatever comes, always. Mine matched his sincerity. You taught me that family is built, not born. That love is a choice we make every morning, and I choose you, today, tomorrow, forever. We sealed our vows with a kiss while Violet clapped between us. The reception was intimate and joyful. Excellent food, meaningful conversations, dancing that continued long after Violet fell asleep in Maya's arms. Our honeymoon was a family trip to the San Juan Islands, Violet's first real vacation. We spent days exploring tide pools and flying kites and building sandcastles. One evening, watching Violet chase seagulls along the shore while the sun set behind her, Hayes asked the question, "Is this what you imagined for your life?" Not remotely, I admitted. It's infinitely better. Life settled into a rhythm that felt both extraordinary and wonderfully ordinary. The healthcare initiative expanded internationally. Violet started preschool, revealing an artistic talent that surprised no one. Hayes and I built something professional that was also deeply personal. And then, 11 months after our wedding, I discovered I was pregnant again. Hayes's reaction was pure joy. Tears and laughter, and immediately dropping to his knees to talk to my still flat belly. "Hello in there." His voice was tender. "I'm your daddy. Your big sister Violet is very excited to meet you, though she doesn't quite understand why it's going to take 9 months. Violet, now almost 3, approached my belly with serious concentration. "Baby in there?" "That's right." I pulled her onto my lap. "A baby brother or sister?" "I be big sister." "The biggest sister." Hayes confirmed. "You'll teach them everything important, like colors and sharing and being kind." She'd absorbed our lessons well. "Exactly those things." "Okay." She nodded. Decision made. "I be good, big sister. Promise." She kept that promise. When Theodore Hayes Callahan was born 7 months later, Violet approached him with the same thoughtful consideration she brought to everything. "He very small," she observed, studying her baby brother in my arms. "You were that small once." Hayes lifted her for a better view. "I teach him things? So many things," I assured her. And she did. As Theo grew from infant to toddler, Violet became his guide, translator, occasional benevolent dictator. "No, Theo." She'd instruct patiently when he reached for something forbidden. That not for little brothers. The years passed, marked by milestones that formed our family's private history. First days of school, lost teeth, family vacations, ordinary Tuesday dinners made special through presence and attention. When Violet turned 7, her naturally inquisitive mind started asking complex questions. "Lily at school has 2 moms," she informed us one evening at dinner. "And Marcus has a mom and a stepdad, and a dad he visits on weekends." Hayes and I exchanged glances across the table. We'd prepared for this conversation. Families come in many different forms. I explained carefully. "What matters is love and respect and taking care of each other." Violet nodded, processing. "But I just have you and Daddy and Theo." "That's right," Hayes confirmed. "Was it always just us?" The question we'd known would come eventually. "Before you were born, I began gently. I was married to someone else. He wasn't ready to be a father when you came along." Violet considered this. "Not ready like when Theo isn't ready for big kid scissors?" "Something like that." I smiled despite the weight of the conversation. Some people aren't ready for the responsibility of being parents, but Daddy was ready. Violet looked to Hayes with complete trust. "I met your mom when you were still growing in her belly." Hayes found simple words for complex truth. "And when you were born, I fell in love with both of you. I knew immediately I wanted to be your father, even though I didn't grow from Daddy's seed. Violet applied recently learned biology with characteristic directness. Family isn't always about biology. Hayes met her gaze steadily. It's about who loves you, who shows up for you, who chooses you every day. So you chose to be my daddy. It was the easiest choice I've ever made. Hayes's voice was rough with emotion. And the best one. Violet absorbed this. I'm glad you chose us, Daddy. Me too, little one. Every single day. The conversation came up again over the years as Violet's understanding evolved. Each time we answered with age-appropriate honesty. When she found the original interview footage at age 10, researching my career, for a school project, we sat with her through her confusion and hurt. He said he didn't want me. Tears streamed down her face. Said I was a trap. Hayes gathered her into his arms. He was wrong. So terribly wrong. His inability to see what a gift you are was his loss, not your failing. But why didn't he want me? Some people aren't capable of putting someone else's needs before their own. I stroked her hair. It wasn't about you, sweetheart. It was about his limitations. Are you sad he's not my dad? She looked up at Hayes with tear-swollen eyes. Not for a single second. He answered without hesitation. Being your father is the greatest privilege of my life. Not because of obligation or biology, but because of who you are. By 12, Violet had developed her own clear understanding. When a classmate made a thoughtless comment about real parents, Violet responded with characteristic directness. My real father is the one who taught me to ride a bike and checks my homework and shows up for every concert. Biology is just science. Family is love. Now, watching from our back deck as Violet, age 16, helps Theo, age 13, with his science project, Hayes wraps his arm around my waist. She's extraordinary. They both are. I lean into him. They came by it honestly. He kisses my temple. They've had an extraordinary example. Through the window, we can see into our home. Photos covering the walls, documenting our journey. The hospital, where we reconnected. Violet's birth. Our wedding. Theo's arrival. Family vacations. Ordinary moments made precious through love. Do you ever think about how different things might have been? I ask the question that sometimes surfaces. Every day. Hayes admits. That interview was the worst moment of your life. And the doorway to my best life. I turn in his arms. To us. To our family. To everything that matters. You don't regret any of it. The humiliation, the pain, the public spectacle. Not for a second. I rest my head against his chest. Because it taught me what I actually needed. Not the perfect image I was trying to create with Gavin, but the real, messy, beautiful partnership we've built. Hayes holds me closer. I regret our years apart, but I'm grateful for what they taught us. That practical choices without love are just empty achievements. That second chances are possible when both people grow. That family is built through daily choices, not biological accidents. Inside, Violet calls out, Mom, Dad, come look at what we made. We walk inside together. Our children, our home, our life built deliberately from the ruins of my worst day. And I realize the fundamental truth that shaped our entire journey. Sometimes your worst moment is the doorway to your best life. Sometimes public endings are private beginnings. Sometimes the love you thought you lost forever comes back stronger, wiser, and exactly when you need it most. Not because of fate or luck or cosmic intervention, but because two people chose each other every single day. Through devastation and rebuilding in ordinary moments and extraordinary ones. Hayes and I chose this. Chose us. Chose our family. And we'd choose it again. Every single time. So let me ask you, have you ever experienced a second chance at love? Have you ever had your worst moment become your greatest blessing? What does family mean to you? Biology or choice? Presence or genetics? I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me where in the world you're watching from. Or just type, I'm with you, Mr. Hearthline. Let me know this story resonated, that it mattered, that you're here. Because here's what I know about life. It will break you, publicly, privately, completely. But in those broken places, if you're brave enough to stay open, if you're willing to trust again, if you choose to build something new instead of protecting what was destroyed, that's where the real story begins. Quinn's story started with humiliation, but it became about resilience, about choosing love over fear. about building family through intention rather than accident. Your story might look different. Different details, different pain, different people. But the core truth remains. You are not defined by your worst moment. You are defined by what you build from the ruins. So build something beautiful. Choose people who choose you back. Show up every single day for what actually matters. And remember, second chances exist. Not because we deserve them, but because growth is real and change is possible, and love, real love, is worth fighting for. Thank you for being here, for listening, for letting these stories matter to you. If this resonated, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Mr. Hearthline Stories for more narratives about resilience, redemption, and the beautiful mess of being human. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, choose love, choose presence, choose family, however you define it. I'm Mr. Hearthline, and this is your reminder that your story isn't over. It's just beginning.